So welcome, guys. Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Look at that. We've got some. We're gonna tell you what we've got today, but it's quite a bit. And Joy is going to show us what to do, and believe me, it's quite easy. So don't feel like it's daunting. And from here on, you should be able to grow your own herbs.
So we have
welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. This is a perfect spot for this, actually.
All the greenery, and we are under the clouds.
Yes.
Perfect weather.
Conditions.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we've got a few seeds. We've sent out a list in terms of what you needed to get and all of that. But just in case you were not able to get everything like myself, you can improvise and put in more seeds, and you have plenty of time to do that after this live as well. So I'm going to take you through just some of the stuff that we have on here. We've got thyme, which is one of those, I don't know if we can do Italian cuisine without thyme.
No.
It's just not possible.
I don't think you can do any cuisine without thyme. Even the mosho.
Yes, and
malamohoji, exactly.
So we're going to do thyme. We've got some coriander as well. Asian cuisine is not the same. It's not Asian cuisine without coriander.
I'm not that sophisticated. I just use the stuff when I cook. I don't care whether it's Asian, Italian, I just use it.
And then we've got some oregano.
Yes,
pizza.
I love it.
Pizza will not be the same without oregano.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we've got some chives as well, which I love to put in absolutely everything.
Yes. Even eggs.
Yes. And then we've got some parsley as well. And I have improvised and got some rocket because there was no mint. So we're improvising with some rocket and with some parsley today. Okay.
I want to ask you before we even get going.
Yeah.
It is wild rocket.
It is wild.
I planted wild rocket. It just grows wild.
It does.
In fact, you can't catch up with it.
No.
So it's constantly like overgrown.
Yes.
What else can you do with wild rocket except salads and things?
You can make a pesto out of it,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So some wild rocket, and you add some garlic, and you add your olive oil, and you can put that over anything. But new potatoes with that pesto is just stunning.
Okay.
Absolutely delicious. Yeah. So I love starting from seeds, right?
Yes.
I love growing my own herbs. I know you love growing your own herbs, right? I have a few reasons why I grow my own herbs. One of which is that when you get it from the garden, it's just so much more fragrant. Yeah. Right? The flavor is just a lot more prominent because it hasn't had to travel anywhere, right?
Yes.
It hasn't had to stay in storage.
Yes.
It hasn't had to be washed over and over again.
It's
straight, like
onto
literally 2 minutes.
From garden to plate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, fresh fragrances. The other thing is that sometimes when we buy herbs, we don't use everything that's in the packets. And then we end up having to throw it away because it sits in the fridge for long.
Yeah.
So that's really one of the biggest reasons I love growing.
But I also think food sources for me have become such an important part of nutrition.
Oh, yes.
And when I say food sources, what's in the food, and where does it come from?
Exactly.
How was it grown? And growing my own really just gives me that sense of I know exactly what's in it. And it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's just the plant.
You definitely have more control.
Yeah, you do. And I care about what I put inside my body and my children's bodies. So I just love growing herbs because I feel like, firstly, I really, really believe they are medicinal.
Yes.
So, fresh herbs, it's just, I don't know, there's just something about them that heals your soul.
Yes.
And physically it heals you when you're not well. So absolutely. So I love that. I love being close to nature as well. So absolutely. It's a no-brainer for me.
They're lots, they're full of vitality. For
yes.
sure.
Oh, that's the word, vitality.
So we've got a few things. I mean, when you're starting seeds, it can be a little bit intimidating, but trust me, once you know what to do, it becomes extremely easy. So
I've never started seeds before. I always buy seedlings and seeds directly. Well, actually, I'll just take them and plant them directly
into the ground.
Yes. So this is also a first for me. It's going to be a great experience.
You just, with seeds, I think starting specifically in trays, you have a lot more control.
Oh, yeah.
So in the ground, all sorts of things can happen.
Yeah.
Birds can happen. Yep. They can come pick up your seed.
Hyenas everywhere.
Right?
Yes.
And they can get washed off by storms and all of that.
Yeah.
But here, you can put them in a safe place.
Yes.
And you have a lot more control. In fact, I think this is the one area in gardening where you can expect a result for the work that you're doing.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
So we've got our seed trays.
Yes.
Right.
Are we just going to use the one or more?
We're going to use more.
Both of them.
Yeah, we're going to use more. Just want to show everyone what this thing looks like, right? So it's actually a seed tray with a dome. And one of the reasons why I love the dome is because once you have this in, it creates humidity. It gives you that feeling of a greenhouse.
Yes, you're incubating them.
Exactly, incubating them without a greenhouse. And that helps speed up the germination
process.
Okay. Exactly. And it gives you a more consistent germination.
Okay, I love it. I love it.
So it comes in as a set like this, right? You've got this underneath trays just so that you can catch the water.
Okay.
It doesn't spill all over the place.
Yes.
And then basically what you're going to do is you're going to take this germination mix, and we're using a germination mix instead of like a potting soil.
Okay.
It's a much finer product.
Yes.
So when you get to the nursery, you can just ask for a bag of germination mix. It comes in like a 5 kilogram bag. And it's a much finer product. I've seen people just use straight on compost. And the reason why I don't advise that is because it's quite strong.
Oh, and it's quite harsh.
It's quite harsh. So chances are it's overly nutrient, and that also sometimes stops your seeds from germinating.
Yes, yes.
Sometimes also compost has like really big chunks of material in it.
Yes.
So sometimes it's got like big chunks
like
of bark.
The cow poop.
Yes. But if it was made from trees, it might have like big chunks of bark. Which, I mean, seeds are tiny, tiny little things.
Yeah.
So as soon as it shoots out, you want to make sure that there's nothing obstructing it, right?
Yes.
So this is almost the texture, and you can feel it.
Yeah, it's
almost the
quite
texture of flour.
Yeah. It is very
and there are no big chunky things on the inside. Very, very nice and fluffy.
Okay.
So that's what I use for my seeds. I just want to make sure that I'm giving myself the best chance possible for like 100% germination.
Yes, yes, and you're giving the seeds great environment to grow. So I look at seeds like my children.
Yes.
They must have the best environment to grow.
I love that because everything here that we use also has to be clean.
Yes.
I've seen gardeners, you just pull a pot from the garden and you put your germination mix in there. That pot might have been sitting there for a while.
It's got germs,
it's got bacteria. So you have to make sure that everything that you're using is clean.
Yeah.
So I like to water this first. Some people will put the germination mix into the seedling tray, but I like to water it first.
Okay.
Because that way,
get a bit of a paste.
Exactly. Get a bit of a paste going.
Do you need more water?
Do you want to go?
No, you use your.
She doesn't like manual labor.
She can use her gardening hands. I'll put them in here.
So you get a bit of a paste going. Perfect. Thank you. You want to get a bit of a paste going. That's enough. You want it to just be moist, but not too wet. Because if it's too wet, then the seeds are going to be overwhelmed with all that water, and then they will rot. Yeah. So I think this is perfect. Yeah, this is good. And then you're literally just going to take your seedling tray and you're going to fill it. Just going to fill that.
Fill it to the top.
Fill it to the top.
But not pack it, right?
You can pack it just slightly because it is light and fluffy, so it has a lot of air in it. But you don't want to create a cement situation. Yeah. So we're just going to pack that lightly. Perfect. Okay. Right. Now I prefer to label everything.
Yes, you have it. Otherwise you forget.
You forget. Yeah. And then once they start coming up, they all look the same.
Yes.
They do. What is that? What do I?
You won't know until it's ready to be harvested.
Exactly. So we're gonna put some thyme. Right. So I'm putting down the name of the herb. Sometimes if you have like a variety, say if it's for example lemon thyme or something like that, then you can say thyme and then lemon thyme.
Okay.
And you put lemon, but this one is just common thyme. And then I want to put the date that I'm putting it in on, right? So today is the 28th of November.
And she's using these ice cream stickies.
Yes.
Let me just check.
Perfect. So we're gonna do some thyme, and then we're gonna do some basil as well, another herb that Italian cuisine would not be the same without. So we're doing basil, and it's the 28th of November, and it's a sweet basil.
Sweet basil.
That's it. And then we're gonna do some oregano, and it's the 28th of November. The reason why I put the date on is so that I know how long roughly each seed will take to germinate, right?
Yeah.
And then you know for next time when you're doing this roughly how long it will take for you to get to your next harvest.
Yeah.
Got it. And the last one that we're gonna do here,
the coriander.
Perfect. Right now, the seeds can be very surprising. It's not something that you could expect. So for example, I'm gonna pour this in your hand and we're gonna show them what thyme seeds look like.
Yes.
These are tiny.
I don't want to lose it. Aeroplanes everywhere. These are so tiny.
They are so tiny.
Wait, let me go show them.
There's a little trick that we do in order to pick them up, basically.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of water in the vase, right? And I'm going to take a pencil. I'm going to dip the pencil in water slightly. And then you can literally pick one with a pencil. Right?
These are tiny.
They are so small. In fact, I'm going to use the wooden side of this.
Yes.
Right? And then you want to pick them up.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay.
With the pencil. So literally, what you have now is that the seeds are now stuck on that pencil, right?
Yeah.
And then you literally just now rub your pencil against the soil. Right?
Okay.
The other way to do this is, if you don't mind the amount of seed that you're putting in here, is that you're just gonna
wait.
Am I putting it
Wrong
in the
way.
wrong place? Am I putting,
You put it here. You put it here.
I put it there.
Yeah. So let's swap.
We're gonna swap this and put that in.
Wait. Which seeds are these?
These are thyme. So thyme is here.
Good.
Perfect.
Now we then need to move the ones here. You did something.
Let's do
The
this.
pencils.
I'm gonna just whisk this. Good. And put it over.
See, now I'm like, oh. Okay.
So you literally you can just sprinkle this on.
Okay.
And now, because they're so small,
Yes.
you don't want to overwhelm them with soil when you're covering them up.
Okay.
So literally, because they're so small, I'm not going to put any additional mix here to cover them. I'm just
put
going to
them in.
pat them in.
Okay.
Literally just pat them in.
Yeah, you see,
And
like
then
the
that's it.
ladies with weaves, when you do this to yourselves. Yeah.
Pat them in. And we're literally just patting them in right on top of the soil because we don't want to overbury them.
Yes.
When you overbury them, then they don't come out. And it's just, this rule just applies to the seeds that are tiny.
Yes.
Tiny. Then we're gonna let's do oregano.
Got it.
Perfect. Again, another surprisingly fine.
Ooh,
It's even finer.
tiny.
It's even finer than the
You
thyme.
are, this is so small.
They are so tiny.
Like, this is like sand.
Extremely
tiny.
Extremely tiny.
Also, but these grow to feed nations.
Listen,
This is so
it becomes
special.
just that one seed becomes a nice big fish.
Ah,
So again, we're gonna do
wait.
it the easy
Oregano.
way. So we are here.
yeah.
We'll do it the easy way, and we're just gonna sprinkle inside our cells. And then once we are done sprinkling, we are not going to put more because they're such tiny seeds. Literally just pat them in. Which is one of the reasons why I like watering the mix first.
Yes, I see. See the nice things.
Exactly. So,
which one is it?
So now we are on coriander. Okay, coriander is a little bit more easy to handle.
Yeah, you can even hear the sound.
Exactly, it's already racketing. Just that.
And my neighbor is doing some work. So. They don't do anything when you're not live. When you're live, they're like, oh, let's take a hammer.
So coriander, most of us know what coriander seeds look like.
Yes.
Because we know that coriander spice. So these ones are quite nice and big. So these ones we're actually going to need to bury.
Okay.
So the easiest way to do this, take a pencil and then just make a hole.
And not too deep.
Not too deep. Right? Perfect.
And we bury one seed at a time or multiple seeds?
You can bury 2 seeds.
Okay.
Just for insurance.
Yeah.
We're going to do 2 in each cell. Perfect. Okay. And then the next one we're going to do is basil.
So what do we do here? We just have it in a bit?
So we're going to just now put a little bit more of that mix on top. We'll do that.
Just a touch.
Just a touch, yes.
This is to close the coriander seeds.
Exactly. Yeah. So because they are much bigger seeds, we need to bury them a little bit. Unlike the thyme and the oregano.
Okay.
Basil is again another slightly easier one to handle. I'm gonna have people. Again, here you want to take your seedling tray, right? And then you take a pencil and you're literally going to make just small holes in the center there. Small holes in the center there.
You feel like that with a bit more soil.
A bit more soil. Perfect. Right. And then just opening it up a little bit, and then you're gonna drop the seeds in. So you can do
as many as I want. Or?
I think do 2 because these ones are they're not too bad to handle.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want you to know I'm not. Some I'm putting more than 2,
which is fine. Look, you can never have too much.
More,
Exactly. You can never have too much basil.
Basil is just one of those you can just use all the time.
And the fragrance, just as you're talking about, I can almost smell it.
But you see, one of the things I say about herbs is that, like as I say, I don't follow any rules around cuisines and things. I just use what I feel like, and then the more you try it with different dishes, the more you're like, oh, okay, that goes very well with that. It doesn't go very well with that. But I'm that person that likes to test the things that don't go well together. Or I always like to flip the script when they say it shouldn't be done. I'm like, okay, let's see why not.
Exactly.
And you'll be surprised at what you actually get when you just pair up things that ordinarily shouldn't go together.
Exactly. So basil is apparently originally from India. So you know how we say Italian basil?
Yes,
It's actually not Italian basil. It's actually an Indian plant.
And this one, do we add, do we add cover or add more soil?
You can add a bit more soil because it's not too tiny, just a sprinkle. So we're literally we're going to season it.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not Italian.
Not Italian, Indian. So you can actually try it in curries as well.
Okay.
So we've got our tray now done. One of the things that you need to just keep in mind going forward with this is that you're going to have to water it.
Yes.
Right? And rather than using a watering can, use a spray. And it's simply because, like I said, the seeds are quite tiny, and watering this with a watering can means that you risk spilling everything out, right? You risk displacing your seeds. So I love this pressure spray. So you want to do this with the spray, and then you want to then cover it when you're done, because you see how gently that mists.
It's literally a mist.
It's literally a mist. But you want to also it's one of those projects that you can't just do and then forget about it. So you have to watch it.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna mist that, and basically that's how you would water this. You want to make sure that you're not overwatering it as well, because you don't want the seeds to have too much water inside.
Yes,
then they will rot.
You don't want mud.
Exactly. So now we close this up.
Okay.
Let's just set this on. So we're just going to close this up, and then it will create the humidity. You can put it in an area that just gets light. Yeah. Right? It can be under direct
full
sun.
light.
Full light.
Direct sun.
It can be under direct sun. It can just be under an exposed area.
Okay.
Right? But it needs light.
Yeah.
If it doesn't get enough light, what will happen is that when the seeds germinate, they'll be very weak.
Okay.
And then when you try and put them outside, when you try and put the plants outside, they don't survive.
They don't stick.
Right?
Yeah.
The other thing that it will need is that once the germination has happened, even if you just see like a sign that the seed has broken, right? Then you have to remove this.
Okay.
Otherwise, it will start to cook.
Ah.
It will start to cook.
So how many days roughly?
7 to 14 days.
7 to 14 days.
7 to 14 days. The fresher your seed, the more success in terms of your germination rate. So usually we say your seeds should not be older than 2 years.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
If they're beyond 2 years,
and that you can read on the packs.
And that you can read on the packs as well.
Like first before December 2023.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So once it's over 2 years, then that germination rate starts to decrease.
Okay.
Right. So and you'll know once you're starting your seeds and the seeds don't germinate, chances are it's too old.
Yeah. Okay. But I must actually keep you on that point, because one of the things that people ask me a lot is, Amanda, none of my things are thriving. I've tried to grow everything under the sun. And I always say, it's usually down to soil preparation.
Yes.
Also, weight position. Yes. And it's important to read the instructions on the seed.
Exactly.
Because you can't take something that's supposed to grow in full sun and you put it in the shade and expect it to thrive. It won't thrive. But I never actually thought about the expiry date of the seeds. So I think that's actually something that you must also watch out.
Exactly.
Yeah. But soil preparation is everything. And before I let you go, you're going to have to tell us a bit more about soil preparation. Okay. Because foundation is everything.
It really is everything.
Yeah.
So we've labeled everything. We've got everything prepared. Now we're just going to play the waiting game.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We're making sure that on a daily basis, we're checking up on our seeds, right?
Yes.
We're making sure that never dries out.
Yes.
Because the water is the thing that's active. It's making all the processes work.
How often do you water this?
You might have to do it in
Twice
the morning
a day,
and then in the afternoon, because it will dry out quite quickly.
Okay.
But if it's under just an area that's just has an exposure of light but not necessarily full sun, then once a day is going to be enough.
Okay.
The other thing is that because we started by watering the mix, the soil that's underneath won't dry out as quickly.
Okay,
right? So it's only going to be the soil on top that's going to dry out. But we want to make sure that stays moist, because that's where the seeds are. You saw with the oregano, we literally just put them right on top. So we want to make sure that never dries out.
So now about the soil preparation.
Yeah.
So let's assume you don't go this route and you want to directly onto the ground.
Right. So what you will need to do is definitely work your soil. The thing with soil is that you want to work it once. Not too often.
Yes,
right?
not too often after you've planted.
Yes, not too often after you've planted. Because we want those microorganisms and all those communication networks in the soils to form.
Yes,
right? So imagine now you've got a network that's forming, but every 2 weeks you're coming with your help. We want those networks to form. So when you're starting a new garden or you're preparing a new bed, you're gonna want to dig that bed. But we dig just once, right?
Yeah.
At best, what you can do is just take a fork and then on top, just
for the water to sip.
Exactly. But we are not going to do serious digging.
Yes.
Then what you want to do is incorporate compost. Compost is king. Like in finance, we say cash is king.
Compost
in the garden, compost
equals to cash.
Exactly. With no compost, no cash. So compost is king because compost is an inoculation of those microorganisms.
Yes.
You are literally spraying microorganisms right on top of your soil. And then what you want to do is you come in with a light fertilizer.
Okay.
Not too
Organic
hectic.
though.
Yes, not too hectic. So bone meal is about the lightest you can go.
Okay.
It doesn't have the nitrogen of like cow manure or chicken manure, which could be very, very harsh for seeds. When we start to seeds, just bone meal and compost.
Compost and bone meal.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right? And then you can plant your seeds. I like to keep things really nice and straight because it helps me remember what's happening.
Yes.
Right? So you
but
could
also it just looks pretty when it's
does.
starting to come out.
Exactly.
Looks orderly.
Exactly. So what you can do is take your spade and literally just make a nice thin row.
Yes.
Right? You don't want to overbury the seeds. So the same way that we're planting here, it's the same way that we're going to do in the garden. So you want to make sure that the seeds are like right on top of the soil, not buried too deeply. And you just close it up.
That's also that could be one of the reasons why a lady I worked with yesterday said to me, I grew carrots and they were looking great, but when I took them out, they were like, they did this. So they didn't grow like
they
this.
didn't grow deep.
Yeah, they didn't
because
grow
the
deep.
soil prep was not deep.
Correct.
The soil prep is extra important when you're doing root vegetables.
Yes.
Because you can imagine a carrot, the vegetable is like that, ne? But there's still a root underneath that.
Yes,
it still has to go down. So you want to make sure that you're giving it allowance at least for that much of your carrot and then a little bit more for the actual carrot root. So soil preparation when you're doing your root vegetables is extra important.
Yeah.
And then it also makes sure that your carrots don't come out like this.
Yeah.
Right?
Carrots, I must say, are one of the most challenging to grow when the soil is not right.
Yes. They don't come out. It's either they will do this
or they bulge up everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And usually when they do this, it's because there is a rock that they're trying to diverge from. There's a big chunk of material there that they can't get through, so they will split and do like a Y situation. So you want to make sure you've got those nice, thin, long, slender carrots. Very, especially important if you're growing for market. Yeah. Because you can't sell carrots that look like this.
No. It's also not pretty to cook those, okay? But again, you mustn't worry about the shape of it if you're still starting out. Because what matters the most is that you actually harvested something from your own. Yeah. And then you just learn as time goes on what to do and what not to do.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I want to do more of this
stuff. You want to do more? Let's do more.
Let's see if there's a question. Let's take a question for Joy. Joy is the expert. I just love doing this stuff for passion.
It's all about the love.
It's who I am, in fact. So, but Joy does this for a living. It's who she is, but she also does it for a living. So we've got the great honor of having an expert here. So fire away, ask me those questions that you usually ask me on my DMs.
Now is the time.
Now is the time.
Take advantage of the situation.
And this is the parsley and
wild
parsley
and the rocket. Yeah.
Because I don't like to see seeds lying around. And then I'm that person.
You want to finish the work.
I wanna plant. Because once you harvest, and I think that's the trick with planting as well, you must plant more. So like when harvest comes, harvest is good and it's perpetual.
Yes, consistent. Yeah, it has to be consistent. Very easy to achieve as well when you're starting from seed, because what you can do is when these are ready to transplant into the garden, then you start new ones.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So that when you're done harvesting these, you have another batch ready to go.
Yeah. And that's important. You must always have a batch coming.
Exactly.
You can't just plant once.
Always
You eat every day. So it means you plant more and more veg. Let me check the question.
In marketing, they say you must always be launching.
Yes.
In the garden, you must always be producing.
Always. And a friend goes beautifully. Hello. Hi, Beth. The question is, what do you think about stratification of certain seeds?
Yes.
Sure, that's a big word. Stratification. I need a diary. Dictionary.
So, all right. Stratification is when you you are preparing the seed for germination, right? So stratification happens a lot in nature. So for example, when birds eat fruit, right? And then the seed goes into the belly of the bird, and then the bird poops it out, right? That seed is gonna come out, and the husk would have been digested by, the bird's belly. And then when it comes out, it lands on the soil, and it's ready to go. The germination doesn't take long, right? But we are not birds, and we can't stratify seeds that way. So the one way we stratify seeds is one, through heat. You can do heat stratification. So for example, heat stratification is key when you're doing chili peppers. So anything in the nightshades family, if you're doing, for example, sweet peppers or hot peppers, actually the hotter the pepper, the more heat you need. So you can do heat stratification. The way to do heat stratification is you get a heating mat. So we've got our seedling domes ready here. So say, for example, we were growing chili peppers, then you would come in with a heating mat. You put a heating mat underneath your seedling tray, right? And then that is literally going to make the germination process much quicker. For peppers, actually for peppers it's essential. You can't do peppers without heat stratification.
Okay.
So if you don't have a heating mat, and by a heating mat I mean those reptile mats. If you have reptile pets in the house, you know that they need heat. So those reptile mats you can get one from. You can get from the nursery, but I think you can also get one from a pet shop, right?
Yeah.
If you've got an electric blanket, that can also serve as your heat stratification tool. So what you would need to do is set your electric blanket on the first setting, and then you put your prepared seedling domes right on top of it. The key thing is that once there's germination or a sign of germination, you have to remove your seedling dome away from the heat, because then it becomes too much.
Okay.
The other way to stratify seeds is, especially if the outer casing of the seed is hard, right? You find that with beetroot sometimes. Actually, beetroot and spinach or Swiss chard, they've got a very hard outer shell, right? The way to sort of stratify that or prep that is to soak them in water.
Okay.
When you soak them in water, that shell becomes a little bit softer,
yeah.
and that speeds up germination.
Okay. Let's take this question. Thank you, Joy. Dave, I hope you've been helped. Few people, in fact, have a soil in the areas that are like sand and rocky. What can they do?
Okay, so if you
How
want,
can they plant?
yeah. So there's a few ways you can do this. The one way would be to work your soil, né? But I'm not a very patient gardener, so I'm always looking for the optimal way, the most efficient way. To work your soil means that, so if it's a sandy soil, you need to incorporate a lot of compost, because compost will bring that soil together to aggregate it. It's got a lot of bacteria, and what bacteria does is it's like a gel or a glue. It aggregates soil particles together, right? So to bring it together, and then your sandy soil is now able to hold on to water. It's able to hold on to nutrients. So like overwhelm that soil with compost. Every quarter you must be putting in compost into that soil. But if
even when you've planted,
always be replenishing it with compost.
Okay.
If you've got sand and rock, you have challenges.
Yeah.
You have great challenges.
You try pots.
You try pots. What you also can do is, if you've got a large space, you can build beds, right? You build these brick beds, and you can make them look nice.
And you fill up your own soil.
You fill up with your own soil. You put in some potting soil in there, and then it's easy because it's actually optimum soil. So those are the two ways to work.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you. Shani, my love, you'll have to watch this again. We did go through how to prep the soil for planting. I'll repost it on IGTV, and it will also be on Organic Kitchen's Instagram or IGTV as well. Okay, let's see. How much time have we got here? Let's see another fish. Cool. Yeah, we still have a few minutes. I hope you are helped, guys. But you know, what are some of the easiest things to grow?
So greens are always going to be your easy go-tos, right? Because they're a cut and come again plant.
Yes.
It's not a once-off.
Like spinach.
Like
Yo,
spinach.
I love spinach.
You can be on that same plant for at least a year, right?
Yes.
So lettuces, spinach, Swiss chards.
Yes.
What you call it, rocket
Yes,
as well.
yes,
so those are the
well.
easy ones.
And kale, I found.
And
I mean, there's kale growing there.
Yes. So and if you put it in a sort of light medium sun condition in the summer, then it doesn't become so bitter.
Yes, it thrives.
Exactly. And then in terms of vegetables, squash.
Yes.
Right?
And it grows wild.
Exactly. So
grows everywhere.
you can put it on a trellis so that it grows up instead of
yes.
spreading if you don't have a lot of space. So cucumbers, pumpkins.
Yes.
What else?
Well,
patty pans.
Patty pans. The
yellow
things.
ones. Yes, the yellow ones that look like scallops.
Yes.
Baby marrows, so zucchinis as well. So those are really nice and easy to do. But root vegetables are also not too bad. You must just not over fertilize them.
Yes.
Because then what happens is that the top becomes big, but then when you pull it out, there's very little underneath.
Yeah. I in this house we pretty much plant any and everything. We recently planted turnips, which we ended up not really using much because they're not our kind of vibe. But it was still nice to pick them from the soil. And I had to learn what to do with turnips, but they've got that aftertaste that I'm like, I even said to Chef Wandile, what do you do with
these things?
So he gave me some tips, but I think the other thing that's very easy to grow is spring onion.
Oh yes.
And chilies. I mean, you must see I've got a batch of beautiful looking chilies in the back.
Oh yes.
And also chives, I mean, in which we have here.
Yes. So I usually have chives a lot more than I have spring onions because I find that I use they're interchangeable.
Yes.
And with chives, you can see on this packet the leaves are quite broad.
Yes.
Right? You get those onion ones where the leaves are a bit more rounded. These, I'm suspecting, are garlic chives. The garlic chives, the leaves are more flat.
Okay.
Right? So you've got those types of varieties. I like the garlic ones because at least you've got the onion flavor.
Yes,
and the garlic flavor as well.
Yeah. Sure. But I think it's important to grow things that you use every day.
Yes.
Because that's really how you first save yourself money. Exactly. Because vegetables and herbs are very expensive.
Herbs especially.
Herbs are incredibly expensive.
Herbs especially.
And I haven't had to buy herbs in a long time. And the rare time that I did, I felt it was just such a heartbreaking thing to buy something that I can grow myself so easily.
Yes, and then the product feels like it's a different product because the flavor is not quite the same.
No.
It's not the same intensity that you are used to.
Yes. The other thing that grows very well that was on your schedule but we didn't do it today is mint.
Mint, yes.
Mint grows so well and grows completely out of place. So it grows wild. It's beautiful though, and it smells great.
Yes.
And one of the things that Joy said to us when we were consulting her on some of the things we wanted to do in the garden, she said, don't be afraid to mix bright flowers with your vegetables because that's how actually you will help them grow and thrive through. You'll have to explain it. So the birds, the bees, the butterflies.
There's a bird and a bee story there.
It's a bird and a bee story.
So when you've got flowers in the garden, especially when you are growing vegetables that need fruit, that are bearing fruit, right? You need a lot of bees and a lot of pollinator insects.
Yes.
But those only come because of the colors that are in the garden.
Yes.
So the more color you have in the garden, the more productive your vegetable garden becomes.
Yes.
It's actually a lot more easier to garden with flowers than to garden without.
Yes.
So I don't know how other people do vegetable gardens without flowers, guys.
Well, we didn't because I love green everywhere. My husband loves color, but we were like, color green, and we actually became more conscious of putting in color when she told us that actually aids more pollination.
Exactly.
So let's take another question.
Perfect.
Is there anything I can use that keeps monkeys from gardens?
Okay, so with monkeys, are we out of time?
No, we're not.
Okay.
You know?
So with monkeys, you actually need to build up a structure. You need to build up a structure or a net. You need to have a net situation happening. You can't use shade net, for example, and you also can't use chicken wire mesh because they're quite weak. The monkeys will literally break through that and then get into your garden. You need something like a welding mesh, right? Imagine you've got your steel structure around your garden. It has to be in a controlled, environment, in a specified space. So you've got your poles that are literally going to be supporting this welding mesh, so that you create almost like a house that is made up of mesh instead of literal walls, right? And then you need to make sure that that house has a door that you can walk into and close,
yeah.
because monkeys will, they will try everything. They will try everything.
You
so
must
you need to
live
be
in
able to have a
Natal or
lock and
south
key
of-
situation.
Or the south of Cape, or in the Cape. Let's see. Questions. Zanele planted mint and parsley.
Yeah.
Great choices.
Yes. The only thing
They
with
say
mint
you are
and
very well versed. They love
Thank
you.
The only thing with mint and parsley is that you can't grow them in the same bed.
Yes.
The other one
Yes.
will kill. Both
Yeah.
plants are just like, they're not friends.
Yeah.
Because the mint usually will overtake the parsley and the parsley ends up dying. So you need to keep them in
Yes.
separate beds.
I
Mint and
have
parsley.
found parsley the hardest to grow, by the way. It doesn't grow as wild for me in our space, and I'm still trying to figure out why. And I don't mix it with the mint,
Yes.
but it's I get very little harvest of parsley
From
parsley than
Yes.
I do with mint.
Yeah.
But I'm that person that's like, okay, I need to figure out why you're like that.
Yes,
Let's talk.
let's talk. So
It's possible that it's where I've been planting it.
It's possible.
It's the positioning.
Yeah.
It's there's so many reasons why. And I love parsley because I cook with it all the time.
yeah. The other thing though is that parsley needs time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So if you get a seedling, a tray, or a plant from the nursery, a seedling from the nursery, literally don't touch that. Put it in the ground and don't touch it for like 6 weeks. Let it grow.
Yes.
Let it develop that body.
Yes.
Then after 6 weeks, you can start harvesting.
Yeah.
But if you start
I'm always
harvesting,
like, so when are we harvesting? I planted you 2 weeks ago. deliver.
let's get going.
I'm a real hugger. but I really feel like I get a lot of this positive energy from them, and I give them
Yes.
mine.
Yes.
So it's like I said, it's like raising children. I have to be so conscious of what I'm giving to them, because ultimately I think that's why this space is thriving so much, because it gets good love.
You know what's the best? When you go abroad,
Yes.
you travel abroad, and you see South African indigenous plants.
Yes.
It's like meeting old friends in a different country.
Yes.
That feeling is amazing.
And we must talk about indigenous plants even now or another
Okay.
time. Let's see how much time we've got. We've got 8 minutes. So why is it important to grow indigenous plants? What are indigenous plants?
So indigenous plants are plants that they naturally occur in a place, right? So these for us would be original South African plants. Roses, for example, we love them, but they're not indigenous, right? So indigenous plants are plants that naturally occur in a place, important to grow because they literally preserve they what's the word?
Sorry, I was
What,
reading a question.
They preserve the natural
Habitat. Yeah.
right? So certain animals can't survive without certain indigenous plants in place.
Yes.
Certain indigenous species
Yes.
depend on those particular plants from that region.
Yes.
So if we are filling our houses and our homes with exotic plants, we are literally then reducing
yes.
the amount and the diversity of species, whether that be animals, whether it be plants, whether
Yeah.
it be insects around us.
You're bringing aliens into your home.
Into-
That's essentially it. That's what exotic plants are. They
Yes.
are aliens to
Into your
the-
home.
to our
Yeah.
ecosystem.
Yes. The other thing is that as Africans, we are so in touch with plants.
Yes.
We use plants for food, we use plants for medicine.
Yes.
They create our world and our environment. And when we change that, it changes our culture,
Yeah.
it changes how we do things.
Yes.
If people want to know more,
Yes.
right, and you want to learn a little bit more, we are going to be doing a garden club.
Garden club.
We're going to be doing Joy's Garden Club. In fact, you can go to www.joysgardenclub.com.
Yes.
And then you can put your name in there. And when we launch our garden club, you will have all the information that you need. This is a garden club that's filled with courses.
Yes.
It's filled with a community of other gardeners that you can share information
resources.
with, right? And then it's filled with garden plants as well, so that you know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it.
I know it's been really helpful. I've been reading the feedback.
So glad.
So you must keep going and never stop.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Cheers, everyone.
It's